today. It's wonderful to get your support, it really is. And we sincerely hope you go home feeling inspired. Now I'd like to introduce Dana Eden. She owns and manages her own company, Fall Prevention Australasia. Fall Prevention Australasia provides seniors with safe and effective exercises and programs to show them how to have a body that is healthy and injury-free. Dana is a personal fitness trainer and has worked in the health and fitness industry for 20 years. She founded Health Club 50 at Woolgoolga. Anybody who's from Woolgoolga, which is a hard word to say, when you're a little bit anxious, will know of Dana. So, Dana.
It's a hard name.
So along with our other speaker, Chris Young, they both work at Health Club 50. And also, Dana was named BWN Businesswoman of the Year 2010.
Thank you.
And has created 4 exercise DVDs and has completed writing the first book, Getting Older, Feeling Younger. Are we all know that? So welcome, Dana.
Thank you.
And I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say, because I can be a bit, what do they say, what's the expression about wobbly boots?
Wobbly boots, yeah.
Yeah, so I'll hand over to you.
Great.
And we should have a technician.
Yep. Okay. Well, thanks everybody for having me along today. And I'll try and speak nice and loudly. Can you all hear me okay? Yeah? Okay, fantastic. Well, how to start? Today I'm going to share with you some of my simple tips, tricks and strategies so that when you leave here today, you're going to have some extra tools to put in your toolbox in regard to your exercises to be able to help you to improve your balance. But before I do start today, I'd like to congratulate each and every one of you for coming along today, because by coming along and listening to myself and Chris speak today, you have shown us that you do care about your health. So I'd like you to turn to the person next to you and say congratulations for coming along today. And I'd like you to turn to the person on the other side and say congratulations to you too. Fantastic. Well, let me start with asking you a question. So by a raise of hands, how many people here want to live being healthy, active, and best of all, injury-free? Yeah, I'm thinking all of us. That's a fair place to want to be, isn't it? So why is it that when we age, when we get to retirement, we often find that our bodies are injured or with disease? We find that we have lower back pain, neck pain, shoulder pain. We often find that we are now struggling with diabetes, heart disease, at high risk of falls. So we go into retirement with the best of intention to find that our body lets us down. But more importantly, is there a solution to this problem? Is there a solution that we can actually have our bodies well right through our retirement years? Well, they are just some of the questions that I asked myself when I started working with seniors about 10 years ago. And it was when I started working with seniors full time that I really recognised that you are a very special group of people and that you really do require specific exercises to allow you to live a life that is healthy, active and injury-free. Because if I gave you the same exercises that I gave people in their 20s, 30s and 40s, you'd probably find that you would injure yourself, yeah? Yeah. So when I asked myself the question, what is the difference? What exercises do people in their 50s, 60s and 70s need to be doing that is different to their younger counterparts to allow them to live a life that is active and injury-free? is what led me on my journey of discovery. And it was allowed me to start my company for Prevention Australasia and to be able to design programs for seniors over the age of 50 so you can live a life that is active and injury-free. So I want you to be excited today because today I am going to share with you some of those exercises that you're going to be able to take home with you and you're going to be able to place in your life straight away. And you know, these exercises could possibly be life-changing exercises for you. And I say that because exercise can change your life. I'd like to share a little story with you, and it was about a client of mine that came to me many years ago, and his name was Mark Ditchley. Mark Ditchley came to me, he was in his late 20s, and he had sustained an acquired brain injury. He had fallen off a cherry picker at work, and he had injured his brain quite a lot, to the point that all the medical reports said Mark would never walk again. He would be wheelchair bound for life. So you can imagine my surprise on my very first meeting with Mark Ditchley when he came and sat with me, and at the end of our very first meeting he looked me in the eyes and he said, "I do not know what they have told you, but I just want to let you know I will walk again, and I will walk again within 2 years." And I don't know if you've ever met anybody in your life, but when you spoke to them, you thought, wow, if anybody's going to achieve what they set out to do, this person is going to achieve that. Have you ever met anyone like that? They have such conviction in their voice, yeah? Well, this is how I felt meeting Mark Ditchley. It literally sent chills down my spine. Mark did not walk unaided in 2 years' time. He did not walk unaided in 3 years or 4 years. But I still remember the day, 5 years down the track, that Mark Ditchley did walk unaided. The day was like every other day that I stood behind him as he stood on the walking track. But today we did not have his walking frame in front of him. We had put it to the side. And he mustered up every bit of strength and courage that he had been working toward over those last 5 years of exercising 3 times a week, and he took his very first step forward unaided. He then took his next step forward, and he went on to walk 30 steps unaided that day. And you know, exercise changed Mark's life. He went on to get married, and he now has 2 children. Exercise can change your life as well. But what I see when I work with older adults is there is a little bit of confusion about what type of exercises to do that are safe, that are effective, and that are age appropriate. Because as I said in the beginning, it's no use doing the type of exercises that your younger counterparts are doing, because more than likely you will injure yourself. So in saying that, you need to make sure that you get hold of the right resource, the right person in your life. Because if you can grab hold of that right person who can help you, exercise can literally change your life. Yeah? So get excited, because I'm going to share with you my top 10 exercises today that is going to help you with your balance. And I'll just look at what they are. Before I do that, I bought this piece of cardboard today, and I'm hoping, can I have somebody just hold this for me for a moment? Is it okay? You don't have to hold it. Oh, okay. Yeah, that would be fantastic.
We're just blocking the glare. So if the glare is worrying you, please let us know.
Can everybody hear me okay? Yeah? Just here, I think so everybody can see. Can everybody, this lady come? Just push it back a bit. Can everybody see that now? Yeah? Fantastic. Okay, I want you to, I got a whiteboard, pen, yep, whiteboard, need that. I want you to visualise a mountain. Is the glare on that? Can you see that? You can see it? Okay. So I've just drawn a nice big green mountain, and I want you to think about this mountain, and you are at the beginning of your mountain, and this is when you are born, yeah? So as you start to grow, you start to climb your mountain. And what type of things happen as you start to climb your mountain? Well, you start to increase your strength. You start to get stronger. So you increase your muscle strength, yeah? You also start to increase your balance. You become more balanced as you start to grow. You have amazing flexibility and mobility when you're young, don't you? Those children, they're like little rubber bands. So you have amazing flexibility when you are climbing your mountain. You are normally fit. You're normally cardiovascularly fit. You have a healthy heart, cardiovascular. You have a wonderful metabolism. You can eat whatever you like and not put on weight. Do you remember those days? Yeah. So you have an amazing metabolism. Okay, I think that's the areas. And you normally have great posture. Young kids have fantastic posture, don't they? Although when they start sitting at the computer, let's think our days. Kids in our days had great posture, didn't they? So we actually reached the peak of our mountain at age 35. So we normally find we've got great balance, great strength, great flexibility, great fitness, and we hit age 35 years. Can anybody tell me what happens after the age of 35? It's all downhill from here. So our natural aging process, if we chose to do nothing, our natural aging process is we start to not be as posturally correct as we once were. We start to find our metabolism slows down and hence a little bit of weight gain. So we have a slower metabolism. Cardiovascularly, we find we're not as fit as those younger grandchildren of ours, do we? So our cardiovascular fitness starts to decline. Our flexibility, we're not at rubber bands anymore, we tend to be stiffer, yeah? So reduced flexibility. Balance is not as good, so we have reduced balance. And we have reduced muscle strength. We're not as strong as we once were. What is the problem with all of this? Well, the extent of the problem in our country, in Australia, is 1 in 3 people over the age of 65 will suffer a fall in the next 12 months. That rises to 1 in 2 people over the age of 75. Now that is because our balance and our muscle strength is not as good as it was. Those people that fall, 70% of people will sustain an injury. Of those that are hospitalised, 50% will die within 12 months. We also find in our country diabetes is becoming an epidemic. 214 people will be diagnosed with diabetes type 2 every single day in our country. Another 214 people have diabetes but just do not know it yet. Heart disease is the single biggest killer of a single disease in our country. In 2006, I think it was just over 26,000 people alone died of heart disease. We also suffer things like osteoporosis, brittle bones, yeah? My question to you is, are we, no matter where you are on this side of the mountain, whether you're 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, is it possible to turn around, look back up the mountain and start heading back up the mountain? Is it possible to reverse the aging process or slow it down at its best? The answer is yes. Research tells us that you are able to slow down the aging process and even reverse it. A study was done with 75-year-olds and they all underwent a 12-week strengthening program with a personal trainer. And the results showed after just 12 weeks that the 75-year-old's muscle strength was now that of a 40-year-old. They had just increased their strength or minus the aging process of 35 years. Now, what does that mean to you? If your muscles were no longer acting at the age they should be, but you were 35 years younger in your strength, what would that mean for you? Would it mean that you're able to mow your lawn a lot easier? Would it mean that you're able to get out of your chair a lot easier? Would it mean that you could pick up your groceries and put them in your car and put them into your home a lot easier? Would it mean that you could pick up your suitcases to go on your round world trip? First class, a lot easier. That is what it may mean to you. If you are able to reverse the aging process, what would it mean to you to reverse your balance, to have better balance? Would it mean that you are able to stand on one foot to dry your toes after you've had a shower? Would it mean that you could stand on one foot to put on your undies without falling over? Would it mean that you could climb stairs without that risk of falling? What about your flexibility? If you increased your flexibility because we can reverse the aging process, what would that mean for you? Would it mean that you can bend over and tie your shoelaces up a lot easier? Would it mean that you could look over your shoulder when you're driving your car to see if a car's coming without going, oh, geez, that's killing me? I know that I've had a sore neck lately and it's been absolutely painful. So increasing your flexibility allows you to maybe cut your toenails without getting help. It gives you a life of independency, yeah? Increased metabolism. What would that mean for you? That would mean a healthier heart. Would that mean being able to run around with the grandchildren and play games and not be so exhausted, have more vitality, more energy, jumping out of bed in the morning? What about good posture? What does that mean for you? To have good posture would mean less pain and less injuries. So it is an amazing ability to be able to reverse the aging process, and each and every one of you have the capability of being able to do that. Yeah? So that's what I want to share with you today, is one piece of the puzzle. And I want to share with you today the piece that's all about balance, because I've been asked to come along and share with you some tips, tricks and strategies to help you to be able to go home and improve your balance. So are you ready to learn those exercises? Yeah? Fantastic. Well, we just put that to the side. Okay. Alrighty, so my top 10 exercises may surprise you, but these exercises you're going to be able to do at home in the comfort of your own home. And I'm going to tell you a little story about each one. I'm a bit of a talker. So your first exercise that I want you all to remember is, why is it when you're walking along the street in wherever you choose to live, that we often see older people clip their toe on the uneven ground, and we will see them fall and put a hand out to break their fall? Why is it we don't tend to see the younger people doing that? Now, there is a few reasons. Your muscle strength has gone down, and because your muscle strength has gone down, you learned to walk when you were babies, and you don't think about how you walk, you just do it unconsciously. But because your muscles aren't as strong as they once were, you naturally are not lifting your toe as highly as you once did. And you are aware of that because you're just walking unconsciously. So I'm about to give you your very first exercise, which is going to help you to strengthen the muscle that's going to help your toes lift up and down when you walk around, yeah? So what I want you all to do is just sit forward in your chair, and I want you to imagine or think about your favourite piece of music, and I want you to tap your toes as if you are tapping to your favourite piece of music. Now keep doing that for me, everyone, and I want you to keep your heels on the ground and just have your toes tapping. Keep going. So I'm thinking, if you did this during a TV ad is normally about 15 seconds, yeah? Between 15 and 30 seconds. So the tip I give my seniors is, when you see a TV ad, do this exercise a few times a day. You will start to feel warm up the front here, up your shin, and that's the muscle that is working. And that muscle is responsible for you lifting your toes up and down, and if you can increase that strength, you're less likely to fall on the uneven pavement and concrete. Do you like that one? Fantastic. Second exercise, number 2. If you do fall on the concrete, what do we tend to do? We tend to break our fall. With older adults, we know that we reduce our bone density very firstly in your wrist and your hips. So we find when an older person falls, they may accidentally fracture or break a wrist, a hip, or worse if we go to the skull. Now, to increase your bone density, you need to do strengthening work, which I'm actually sharing with you today. But I just want to give you one exercise here that you can do at home during the TV ads, and it's going to help to strengthen your wrists. Because if you did happen to fall, and you did have the bone density in your wrist strong, you are less likely to fracture or break. And this is what I mean about specific exercises for your age group, yeah? So what I want you to do is put your hands together. And I want you to push your hands against each other so you're resisting against each other. And I want you to hold that for me. And I want you to keep holding it for me. Now, if you held that for a TV ad, 15 seconds or so, and then just released it, but you did that a few times a day, you will start to increase the density through your wrist. Do you like that one? Yeah? Fantastic. Okay. The next exercise that I'd like to give you is an exercise to strengthen the top half of your legs. So as I explained to you, your toes aren't naturally lifting as high, but your legs aren't naturally lifting as high either. And we do see that, don't we? As we age, we start to see shuffling. Yeah? Yeah. So you don't see young people shuffle. And it's not your fault, it's just that you're in that natural aging process of decreasing your muscle strength. So a great exercise to be able to strengthen your upper legs is I want you all to shuffle forward on your chairs. I want you to bring your heels behind your feet behind your knees for me. I want you to bring your hands across. Now, for some of you, this may be too challenging. If it is, I'll show you how to work up to it. I want you to lean forward. I want you to stand up. It's okay. And I want you to sit down. And one more time to stand up. And sit down. Okay. So what we find as we age is I see it all the time. People hold on to their chair, or they'll hold on to a table, or they'll hold on to something to stand up. You are helping yourself to become weaker through this area. And my mum was a prime example. My mum fell 5 times in 1 year in her 60s. And my mum was starting to hold on to a table every time she stood up. And so by just giving her this little simple trick of, Mum, every time you get out of the chair, just consciously try not to hold on, has really strengthened her legs tenfold. So it's a really, I get my seniors in my classes to do about, well, they're up to about 40 now, which I know is incredible. I have incredible seniors. But if you started with just a couple, you know, and progressed up to 10, and did that on a daily basis, you're going to help to strengthen your quadricep muscles, which is going to help you to lift your legs higher. So it is going to help you in prevention of falls. Now, I know I haven't got to balance yet, but you know what? The reason you want to learn balance is so you don't fall. So I'm trying to give you a bit of an overview of all these type of exercises to help prevent falls, yeah? Okay, 4th exercise. Now this exercise is, you probably can't see this, but this is a natural aging spine. So when we're young, upright, we tend to find as we get a bit older, we may start to see a little bit of curve coming up through the upper back. And we often see an older person forward and we've got the rounded back, yeah? This is putting you at high risk of falling because your body is no longer in correct balance. So I'm going to give you a fantastic exercise that I absolutely love, and you can do this, but you do need a band to be able to do it. Now, I do have some here today, they're $7, or you can go and buy them at the shop, but as I was saying to another lady, they're quite expensive there. This exercise helps to strengthen your thoracic area, your upper back area, because what happens is these muscles become weak. These muscles tend to stay stronger. So what happens is you get rounded shoulders. These muscles are weak, so they can't hold your shoulders back and down. So this exercise is going to reverse it. It's going to bring your shoulders back and down. Now you can start this without a band for sure, but what you do is if you all sit up tall, if you had a band, is you sit up nice and tall and you just pull your elbows back and squeeze your shoulder blades, and then you just straighten your arms. So if you looked at my back, you go back and forward, back and forward, and it's really strengthening these muscles on your upper back. And that's going to help you to stand posturally correct. But there's two parts to this exercise. This muscle becomes weak, but so do these muscles. So this is a great exercise for strengthening through the neck area, and it's called double chins. So what I want you to do is just gently drop your chin and push it back as if you're making a double chin, and hold it for about 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and just release it. Yeah, and you can feel it work all these muscles, yeah? So between that exercise and rowing, you can actually bring yourself back into good posture, which will prevent the stooping, the rounded shoulders, and will help aid you in preventing a fall. Yeah? Okay, next exercise is your posture. Now, as I just explained, if you don't have good posture, you are at risk of falling. Posture I put into 2 sections. I'm going to show you how to be in good posture. I'm also going to show you how to activate your pelvic floor. And pelvic floor all works in with it because it's all about your core strength. Now, I don't know if you know your body that well, but you have your spine, and wrapped around your spine are some little muscles, and we call them your core muscles. And then wrapped around those muscles are your big muscles that you can see, these big muscles. When you get those little muscles strong, it actually acts like one of those old-fashioned corsets, and it pulls in these big muscles around your spine. So it helps to give you stability through your spine, which will help anybody if they have lower back pain. It will also help you if you're not posturally correct, and it will help you with your balance, because the stronger your core is, the less likely you are to fall. So if you started to topple, if you had good core, you'd be able to pull yourself out of that. So it's a really important thing to do. Now, to have good posture, I'm actually going to get you all to stand up for me. And I'm going to get you all to have your feet hip distance apart. And I want you, do you want me up on stage? Yeah, I'll go up front. Okay, so I want you to place your hands around your hips for me. And I want you to visualise that your pelvis is a fishbowl with water in it. If it was a fishbowl with water in it, I want you to tip your pelvis so the water in your fishbowl would fall out the back. Bad posture. Now I want you to tip your pelvis so the water would fall out the front, commonly known as a sway back, and once again, bad posture. I now want you to bring your pelvis back where you would imagine the water in your bowl to be level to the floor. Now this will give you what we call a natural curve through your lower back, and this is what we call neutral spine, so hold that position for me. Now I want you to place your thumb on your belly button and your fingers on your pubic bone. And I want you to think about the area between your thumb and your fingers. I want you to imagine you've eaten far too much today. Who here's eaten a Tim Tam at lunch? Am I the only one? I ate the last 2, honey. My husband's on the back. I'll have to buy more on the way home. And so, I want you to imagine you've all eaten my Tim Tams today. And you need to do up your pants. So to do that, you need to suck this area in as much as you possibly can. So on a scale of 0 to 100, you've sucked it in 100%. Now I want you to completely let it all go and let it all hang out. That's 0, yeah? If you keep your tummy at 0, you are giving yourself no support through that spine. This is not a good place to be. If you suck it in 100%, that would just be nightmarish. What you need to do is activate it 30%, a little bit. So I want you to draw your tummy in towards your lower back a little bit. Hold it there. I want you to bring your hands down by the side. Now I've got men here today and I've got women here today. I'm going to start talking about pelvic floor, and I do this in my classes because it does help you. 70% of women do have pelvic floor issues, and men, if you've had any prostate problems, you may find that you've got pelvic floor issues as well. Pelvic floor can be a problem because if you've got to run to the toilet because you can't hold on to your wee, you may fall. It puts you at risk of falling. It is fantastic to have a good pelvic floor, so I'm going to show you how to do that. I want you to imagine, women, I want you to imagine that you are stopping the urine flow through what we call the urethra. So I want you to stop the urine flow through the front. Okay, I want you men to imagine that I have got you walking into freezing cold water and you need to lift up the crown jewels. Lift them up. Okay, what I want you all to do from there is I want you to imagine you are stopping your number 2s through the back passage. Now that is not squeezing your bum cheeks. That's those big muscles. We're not talking big muscles. We're talking internal. Imagine you are stopping your number 2s. Now I want you to visualise that your pelvic floor is a hammock that runs from your pubic bone to your tailbone. And I want you to lift your hammock up by imagining that you're sucking on a straw internally and you're pulling that muscle up and lifting it up. I want you to hold it for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and let it all hang out. Okay, so that shows you how to strengthen your strengthen your pelvic floor. But for good posture, I want you to activate your abdominals 30%. I want you to activate your pelvic floor through the front passage, the back passage, and lift it up. I want you to hold it. Bring your hands down by your side. Shoulders up around your ears, not good posture. Retract and set down. Your chin should be tucked parallel and you elongate through the spine. You lengthen through the spine. So if somebody has a string on the crown of your head, drawing you up to the ceiling. If you practice good posture every day, you will find that will help you to prevent falls. So everybody have a seat for me. So that's my next 2 exercises. Are we having fun yet? Oh dear. Okay. Now the next exercise, I'm going to now go into traditional balance exercises. So I really recommend when you do your balance exercises at home that number 1 you think is safety. So I don't want you just doing it in the middle of the lounge room and you topple and you go over. So I highly recommend you either do it beside a chair or beside a wall, so you do have support. If you are really worried about your balance, have the wall one side, have the chair the other side. So no matter what way you go, you've got something to grab onto. So it's number 1 priority is safety, yeah? Okay, so the next step for your balance, and I'll just show you these, is bringing one foot in front of the other foot. So you've brought heel to toe, yeah? So that is your first balance exercise. So what you'll do is when you've got your heel, toe connected, you'll think posture. Activate my abdominals, lift my pelvic floor, shoulders are back, chin parallel, I've elongated my spine. If I'm choosing to hold on to my chair because I'm concerned about my balance, okay. But what I'm going to challenge myself to do is just make it light like a feather. So if it is light like a feather, I'm having to activate these core muscles to increase my balance. So that is your next step, is to bring your hands away from that chair. Now I've got high heels on, so this is actually quite difficult. The next step from there is my hot tip to my seniors is when you're making a cuppa and the jug's boiling and you're thinking, oh, I've got a couple of minutes, is you normally have the kitchen bench, is to stand beside the kitchen bench and to actually walk heel-toe without holding on. But once again, if you're at high risk of falling, you may not want to do that because you may fall the other way. But that is your choice. So, it's heel-toe. Once again, posturally correct. I don't want to bend over. The next step in your balance is you need to add challenges. So a challenge, first challenge is shut your eyes. You will find it an amazing challenge. So you stand here and you shut your eyes. Once again, you're going to be safe because you're going to have stuff around you. And you shut your eyes, yeah? And you try and hold your balance. Another way to challenge yourself with your balance is to pick a point on the ball and wherever you are. And you keep looking there with your eyes. And you just move your head from side to side whilst continuing to look at that same point. You'll be amazed at how challenging that is. Yeah, so it's another way to enhance your balance. But remember, when you're doing your balance exercise, think, activate your core, how much? 30%. Think about stopping the urine flow, so lift your pelvic floor. So what that's done is internally you've got all those muscles working, then work with your balance, because it's going to enhance the strength of your pelvic floor muscles, which is going to help you with your balance. Yeah? Okay. And the other one I've got, if you would like to do with your balance, is just to lift a knee. So your knee should be in line with your hip. And once again, you just start bringing your hand off the chair. You can then go into eyes shut and go from there. Number one, safety, and then work through your exercises from there. Yeah? So they're my 10 exercises. What do you think? Did you learn something from those exercises? Yeah? So can I ask you, by a show of hands, how many people here today think that they are going to be able to walk out of here and put at least 2 new things into their week that's maybe going to help them in regard to having a healthy, injury-free body with improved balance? Would you be able to, yeah? At least 2 things? Fantastic. Awesome. Okay. So I'm just going to share quickly here. I'm going to tell you a bit about my DVDs in a moment, but I just want to share quickly here that Fall Prevention Australasia helps to get the information out to the community about some simple, safe exercises you can do at home, just like I've shown you guys today. For me to get the awareness out there, I need people to know that I exist and I can come and do talks to help people just like I'm helping you today. So I'm actually going to say today and ask you that I've actually put on the table over there my business cards. If any of you know groups, maybe people that can help get the awareness out to the older community, can you let them know about me? Because I come for free and I share this information, and my goal is to get this information in as many hands as I possibly can on this planet of older adults. Because you know, if you learn just one thing, it can potentially save your life. It can potentially stop you from falling, which could potentially stop you from going to hospital with an injury, breaks, fractures and whatever. Exercise can change your life, but people need to know what specific exercises they need to be doing so it's safe and it's effective. Yeah? So thank you for that. So just to highlight what we've talked about today, we've talked about the problem. And the problem is we are all naturally aging. We've also talked about if we choose to do nothing, we are putting ourselves at risk of falls, we're putting ourselves at risk of heart disease, diabetes, osteoporosis, which can lead to broken bones, can lead to all sorts of problems. We've also talked about the solution, and the solution is placing safe and effective exercises into your life on a regular basis that are age appropriate. So what I would like to tell you about is I'd like to ask your permission just to tell you a little bit about the DVDs that I have designed especially for you. Can I spend 2 minutes and do that with you? Yeah? Thank you. Well, I actually designed these exercise DVDs with the purpose of showing you how to do exercises safely and effectively. Because as I said, working with seniors, I know that there is such a confusion about what you should and shouldn't be doing and what works and what doesn't work. And I also know that it's no use just going to any health and fitness professional, because a lot of them aren't passionate about senior health. They might be passionate about children, or might be passionate about weight loss. And so it's important to go to the right resource here. So the purpose of this is to give you exercises that are safe, effective and do work. So I've actually produced 4 of them, and they all are different pieces of the puzzle, because the puzzle consists today, I showed you balance, but it's only one piece of the puzzle. You've got your flexibility, your cardiovascular fitness, your muscle strength, and without all those pieces, you're putting yourself at different risk of different disease. So osteoporosis if you don't have strong muscles, heart disease if you have obesity, diabetes if you have obesity, so it all works in together. So the very first DVD that I actually produced is called Be Active, just drawn a bit there, and it's a fall prevention DVD. And 26 seniors from Woolgoolga actually went to Opal Cove here in Coffs Harbour, and we spent 2 days filming this, and we put together some really fantastic exercises for you in regard to fall prevention. So you will find there's some strength exercises, balance, mobility, all sorts of stuff. This actually goes for over an hour, and when I gave it to my mum, she said, oh God, Dana, I couldn't do the whole thing. And so what I did, fantastic, I gave it to her before I actually had the whole thing completed, is I asked her to do it in segments, so you can actually choose. You can say, today I'm going to do strength, tomorrow I'm going to do balance, so you don't have to do the whole thing all at once. There's also some coordination in there, left-right brain stuff, so that you keep your coordination. There's also Be Strong, and Be Strong is a 26-minute DVD that actually does use these exercise bands. And what that's about is fantastic for anyone that maybe does suffer osteoporosis, because it is all about strengthening your muscles. Strong muscles increase your bone density. Increased bone density puts you at less risk of fracture and breaks. So this one is a 26-minute DVD. It's seated and standing, and it's all about senior health. There's also Be Flexible. Now, Be Flexible is a 30-minute DVD, and it is fantastic for anybody that suffers lower back pain. This one has a fantastic stretch in there for sciatica. Anyone here have sciatica or lower back pain? A few of us, yeah? Okay. Well, this has some fantastic stuff in there. What I love about this DVD, it also teaches you the skill of getting off the floor safely. Now, I don't know about you guys, when I was a kid, Mum made me practice a skill so I become good at it, and it was the piano. And I also had to practice my timetables, so I knew my timetables. Getting off the floor safely is a skill that every senior should know how to do. Because if you did happen to fall, do you know how to get off that floor safely to get help? And you know, this is a really sad story for my grandmother, because she actually did fall. She was laying on the floor for 3 days before somebody actually knew that my grandmother had fallen. And a pure example, she didn't know how to get off the floor. She stayed there until somebody came to help her. So it does have that skill there, which I'm really happy about on that one. And also, Being Flexible in 15 minutes is quickie, in that I really recommend this. It's just standing and seated, and it's fantastic to do after you've done exercise. We actually have it running at Health Club 50, and it's, if you've done a walk, you should stretch afterwards. If you've gone to tennis or golf or anything like that, it'll give you your mobility and flexibility and stop you from being so stiff. So it allows you to move around more freely. So I actually have those 4 exercise DVDs, and I've got an order request form here if you are interested in ordering them. And just to give you a bit of a insight as to how this can help you, a lady that came to me about 5 years ago, her name was Joan. She's 72 years of age now. Joan suffers Parkinson's disease. I don't know if any of you know much about Parkinson's, but it's a pretty, pretty bad disease. And she was at the point she was unable to really leave her home independently. She couldn't take her dog for his daily walk because she was fearful of falling. Her muscles in her legs and her arms were so weak, she was now unable to feed herself. Her husband has to feed her because she couldn't get that food to her mouth. So you could imagine her life was fairly isolated. She was no longer able to socialise. She was no longer able to have an independent retirement. And Joan came to me, and I can honestly tell you within 6 months, she's completely independent. She might even come to your class. I don't know that she comes to Chris. Does Joan come to your class for Parkinson's disease? She does? Okay. Well, is she independent, Barb?
Absolutely.
She is wonderful. She went to Paris last year with her daughter, trekked around Paris. She drives a car, she's social. She is in a great place. That is what exercise can do for your life. And don't think because I'm getting older I'm too old, because you're not. You're never too old. This to help you. So I'm going to hand out these. Can you just help me Greg? Hand these out. I just put some to each. You just pass them along. See, make sure everyone's got some. And it actually tells you the cost. So the cost of these DVDs is $20 each. If you choose to purchase the whole lot together, I am doing a special today of $50 for them. So you can purchase the whole 4 for $50. So I just want to give that to you. I brought along my EFTPOS machine, so you can pay by credit card, EFTPOS, cash, check, whatever. And I think I brought number of them, but I think they make fantastic Christmas presents, don't they? Yeah. So guys, just in finishing in my talk, I just want to finish with when Joan came to me 5 years ago, I did say to Joan, what made you take that step forward, Joan? And she said to me, Dana, I just knew if I did nothing, nothing would change. So I want to leave that with you guys. Take the first step forward and you will find that the rest will just fall into place. Thanks for having me along today, and I hope you enjoyed it.
If I turn my head suddenly, or even doing exercise and side to side and things like that sends me off balance.
Yes.
Now, should I be doing them and challenging myself on it?
Okay, so the question was, if I'm feeling, so you're feeling a bit unsafe when you're actually doing things with your head and so you're feeling unbalanced, yeah?
Yeah. So if I, how you go to touch it or
Yep.
anything,
Yep.
and they say, do this,
Yeah.
or put it back a long way, or I mean now I'm starting to go